What on guys, Gwen here, and welcome to a new video inside of Blender. Now, I'm going to show something off that I've been working on this past few weeks. About 2 or 3 weeks I've been working on this. And basically, so I did a video a little while ago which was showing you how to edit your motion capture or any kind of animation that you may find, whether it's game animation or motion capture, for the purpose of characters that have got different skeletons, right? Because if you watched my behind the scenes video for my Clone Wars scene redo, you'd have seen that part of the process of doing the mocap is you've got to pose adjust characters that you retarget the animation to because the poses are different, right? Now that's always been standard in doing CGI animation. It's a pain in the bum, but it's a requirement. You haven't got a choice, there's no way out of it. So I've been very interested since doing animation about if there's a way to rectify it and to fix it and to not do that, so you can have like an auto T-pose thing. But I can't find anything that does it reliably, especially amongst different skeletons. So what I've decided to do is I've decided to do it myself. I haven't done this completely on my own. I have had help. I've been using myself along with ChatGPT to give me the baseline. I've worked on a Blender script which basically solves this problem. So just to show you exactly what I mean, right? So I've got a character here that's got the Battlefront 2 skeleton, and I've got some Rococo motion capture. Now, as you can see, they're both two different poses, right? Now, this will not work universally together, right? Now, I'll show you what it does. So if I go into my Rococo retargeting plugin, so I'll go source, reference, build bone list. Build the bone list automatically. Yours might be manual. It depends if this is your first time doing it with this particular skeleton hierarchy or not. I've done this multiple times with this skeleton hierarchy, so it works automatically. And retarget. Right, so now it's retarget the animation. You can see that the arms and the fingers particularly, the legs aren't too bad, and the head's not horrendous, but their arms and the fingers are particularly broken, right? Now that's because the poses are completely different, right? So now if I just undo this and get it back to its standard pose like this, what I can do is, now that I've got this Blender script, and essentially what it does, when I run the script, I get this this add-on in here, which basically gives me different buttons to do different things, right? So Human IK, which is the Battlefront 2, literally all it does, I got to press, this is when it doesn't work, but press Human IK, there we go. So it's got to be visible, and automatically it sets it in a nearly perfect T-pose. But the interesting thing about it as well is it also applies it as the rest pose. Now that's the magic bit, because now what happens is if I go back into my Rococo thing, set it to rest pose, and then retarget again, it will now work nearly perfectly. It won't be 100% perfect, and there will probably be a bit of cleanup that is needed doing to it. The biggest arsake that you can have with, and the biggest time constraint that you can have when using mocap has been pretty much solved. Like I said, there will be little tweaks and little like gimmicks that you need to iron out and straighten out, but the biggest problem, which is the fingers particularly, they're always the thing that drive me absolutely insane. They're the bits that this will completely streamline out. Right, so now it's been retargeted. If I go over here, it now works. It's not, like I said, it's not perfect. The arms will need adjusting a little bit, but it's so much, it looks so much better. If you look at like the poses of the fingers, the hand is pretty much perfect. You'll need to rotate it a little bit because they're a little bit too close together, but that's small fry in comparison to what we had before. This takes a massive weight off of anybody who's doing 3D and doing mocap. And the good thing about this is that because it's T-pose, this will work universally with Mixamo. So Mixamo's got this issue, and I don't know whether it's an issue, but this feature where, so Rococo, let's say, with my mocap that I do, I export it so that the base pose is, so the first frame of the mocap is the reference pose, so the T pose, or the A pose, or wherever I export it. So that means that all I would need to actually do in this particular instance is I wouldn't even need to apply the pose to a rest pose. I would just change the pose to what I need it to be and then retarget it with in Rococo with the current pose. But the problem is with Mixamo's animation, the first frame is not the reference pose, and the rest pose is a T pose. So what it essentially does, this little bit part of the script up here, is once it applies the pose, it'll set that pose as a rest pose. So then you can then use it with Mixamo. So any Mixamo animations you can then use with this. So I'll go, actually what I'll go grab a Mixamo animation, I'll show you quickly how it works. Right, so I'm back here now with another Battlefront 2 model that I got out of the Star Wars package. And the Star Wars package, if you don't know what that is, it's basically a massive Google Drive library of video game assets from all the big Star Wars games. So you've got Battlefront 2, Battlefront 1, Squadrons, Fallen Order, Jedi Survivor, and a load of other stuff as well. And it's this huge library. It's really good. That's where I get a lot of my 3D assets from. I will do its own separate video at some point, and I would like to go over it now, but it's so much stuff that I can go over that it requires its own video. But I'll leave a link in the description to the Discord link to the Discord server for this Star Wars package. So if you want to go and ask questions before I release my video, go and have a look there, and I'm in the Discord as well. Go and have a look and see and ask any questions that you might want answers to. But as I will also leave a link to the actual Drive link in the description down below as well, in case you want to have a look at anything. But it's really, really good. But anyway, enough of that stupid shameless plug now. I'm going to show you how this works. Now, one thing I will say, a problem with this script that I don't know whether I can actually get around yet, but so if we go into the script just to show you quickly, this is the section of the script for the human IK, right? The human IK button, right? Now, it's looking for reference, right? Which is the name of the armature reference. Now, if it's anything other than reference, it won't detect it, right? So if I imported this again, it would show up as a reference.001. Now, it won't identify that because it's not the name of the armature it's looking for. Now, I don't know whether I'm going to, there's a way for me to add more variables to that. But the problem with it is that if I add another one into it, so let's say I T-pose this one, like this, easy as that. But let's say I T-pose this one, I import another one. The only way I'd be able to do it is to rename this one, let's say reference 1, and then the new one that I import, if I import another one, rechange that name. Because what I can do is if I click Human IK again, it will apply the pose again. That's the problem that I've got with that. So it's always looking for reference. So if you get into if actually when you're using this yourself, when I release it properly, and you click the Human IK button and it throws out an error, just check that the naming convention is actually reference, because otherwise it's going to cause you problems. Now that I've screwed that now, so let me just go and create a new save and just re-import this. Right, so now that I've got this back in there, now I click Human IK and it poses instantly. And that is all it needs doing to it. Now, at the moment, I have to run the script every time I open a new Blender save. But that's because I haven't set it up as a auto-run plugin yet. But that will be that is one of the next things on the agenda. So there's that. So now if I import a Mixamo animation. Now, another thing is, in this thing, when I release it properly, I will do another video going over it properly. So, as you can see here, I'm on frame 1, and it's not using a reference pose. So that's why. So now if I go into rest pose, it resorts to T pose. Now that's the reason why it's important that when I made this system, I had it apply the rest pose at the same time. Because now what I can do is I can go into my Rococo plugin, go to retarget, build boneless. As hopefully this will work first time, which it does. Yeah, it works fine. So now if I set it to, I don't want to do that. Get rid of auto scale. Use the rest pose, which is what it's using now, and retarget. Because if you use the pose animation, it won't work properly because it would retarget between the T pose and this first frame pose, which will make the animation look even worse. But now that's been retargeted and it's all at T pose, it works so much better. And again, it's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. There is still a bit of cleaning that you do need, but that's pretty damn cool. And I'm really quite happy that I've managed to get this working, because not only is it, Battlefront, and also this will work for any mesh that uses the human IK skeleton, right? So you've seen me use it with 2 already. It will work with basically, Battlefront 2, it's specifically any skeleton, so let's say any of the main classes. Droids are a little bit different because I think they use a different skeleton. But all of the clones, the rebels, the stormtroopers, the officers, rocket troopers, again, disregard droids, all of the heroes, everything, they all use this human IK skeleton. So this human IK button will work with all of those. And what I've also got is I've also managed to do Jedi Fallen Order as well, and also technically Jedi Survivor as well, as they also use the same skeleton system. I have got 2 because for some reason Jedi Fallen Order, so you've got like the clone troopers which use a 1 skeleton pose, and let's say like Cal and Merrin use a different skeleton pose. So that's why I've got a number 2, a second one, because it's for the different pose that the different characters use. But what I've also done is I've also got an apply rest pose button, right? So now we're back to default pose. So one thing that you can do is if you want to do something manually, so the way that you apply a rest pose normally, so each of the meshes, if you go into the modifiers, they've all got an armature modifier. And the way to set so if I just make a quick random pose a second, so if I just do that, and then so let's say that's a pose that I want to apply, right? If I move, and as I keyframe it, it'll stay there for that 1 frame, but when I move it across the timeline, it'll get rid of that frame, it'll get rid of that pose, right? And the way normally you would go about applying the rest pose, this is a new rest pose, because like I say, even if I go into, let's say, back into the armature, the rest pose and the pose are 2 completely different things, right? So let's say that was a reference pose for mocap. If you wanted to, you'd have to do it with rest pose, but you can't because the rest pose is different. And the way that you would normally apply the rest pose is duplicating the armature, applying the duplicated armature modifier, and then doing that for each individual mesh, then applying the new pose as rest pose. But what I've done here is I've done all of that system in 1 button. So if I click now apply rest pose, what that'll then do is that'll then apply the rest pose in the pose that it's in. So all of that kerfuffle, what's this? Is it got like four different meshes? 5 meshes. 6 different meshes. So for each of these different meshes, you'll have to duplicate the modifier, apply the duplicated modifier for each of them, and then do apply pose to rest pose in the, so if I go into, so the way you do it is you go pose mode, select all, pose, apply pose as rest pose. It's a reliable way to do it and it always works, but it's long-winded. But now I've done that all in 1 button. And what you can also do is you can, again, if I say, oh, I don't quite like that pose, I want to do something. Oh, well, I'm in rest pose, I need to go back into pose, that's fine. I want to do something like this. And then maybe I want to, I don't know, push this a bit back up and then move it forward. There we go, like that. All I need to do, apply rest pose again, and it's fine. It works. So that takes that massive edge off that bit as well. Like I said, this is just my first just introduction to what I'm doing and how I'm developing, I want to see I don't know how far I'm going to push this before I release it first. So there's still a few little troubleshooting things I need to do. There's a few little details that need ironing out. And I want to add a load more different skeleton things as well. So what you're seeing on the screen now is I've made a Trello roadmap for what I've got left to do. The ones I have done, I've put in brackets done, so that's what's been completed already. Because one of the things I want to do is I want to put in back it up into a Python file, because at the moment I'm just copying and pasting off of a notepad. And I also want to make it as a Blender plugin, a proper Blender plugin, so that I don't have to keep running the script every time I open a new Blender file. Whereas I want it to be like, let's say, the Rococo plugin, where it's in the add-ons, so every time I open a new Blender file, it's in my shelf, I can just go to it, and it's there like this. When I put it into the public domain for you all to go and to have a play about with, it'll probably come up with a few bugs that need ironing out and this and that, but it's something that quite passionate about because I've had to deal with these issues myself before. Like I said, I will do a video when I put the first version of this out into the public domain, and probably will be on Ko-Fi for you to go and purchase. The way it's going at the moment, it's pretty good, and I'm very happy with the way this has turned out. And I want to add, actually, you see the roadmap that I've got on screen now with all the different things I need to add to it. If there's any skeleton systems that you want me to add, like let's say you've got a game that's got a different skeleton system in it anyway, and you want that added to this so it'll auto T-pose, put it in the comment section down below and I'll see if I can add it in. Because as long as I've got access to the skeleton mesh, that's all I need. So anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed, and I shall see you all later. Bye!